Tommy Burns would come round, and he'd come in and he'd just come round in front of you and just go like that.
Coming up on the official Celtic FC podcast. Join us for part 1 of 2 of an exclusive interview with Brian McClair as he goes into his time as a Celtic player.
This is the official Celtic FC podcast.
Yes, everyone, hello, welcome along to the official Celtic FC podcast. What a guest we have in store today. I'm absolutely buzzing for this one. Just want to start off by saying that this is going to be part 1 of part 2. So to make sure you know when the second part is coming out, like, subscribe to the official Celtic FC podcast because you won't want to miss this one. Before I welcome our guest, I'm Ryan Marr, and alongside me as usual is Matt Campbell. Matt, how much are you looking forward to this one?
Yeah, very much so. When you were telling me sort of who was coming up on the podcast over the coming weeks, this was certainly a standout name, and I'm looking forward to getting into it.
Perfect. Let's give him the big build up now. More than 200 appearances for Celtic, more than 120 goals, really incredible numbers. And in his 4 seasons at Celtic Park, he finished as top goal scorer in every campaign. He is a vital part of an amazing league title win. He's a cup winner and a Celtic man that lived the dream of playing for his side. He's also a legend at Manchester United with more than 10 years as a player there under the dominant early years of Sir Alex Ferguson in the 1990s. And then he was a man that brought through the next generation of Manchester United's amazing crop of players, working as a reserve team manager, as head of youth. He's a podcaster. He's a man with plenty of stories. He's still, of course, a Celtic fan that comes to every home game. I'm absolutely delighted to welcome Brian McClair. Brian, did I miss anything out there? Was that all factual?
Just going back to the bit at the beginning there, I think you should be saying what kind of guest and what kind of influence I might have had at the end of it, because sometimes I can be mischievous when it comes to interviews in certain situations. And my favourite kind of, if you'd be looking at texting, for example, I've managed to get text down to 1 letter.
Really? Are you a dry texter?
I just can't be.
Like
wasting time,
A singular emoji, a singular thumbs up emoji.
That's pretty. It's like I sent a couple of emojis this morning. So I sent one to Ryan, and at the end of it, I don't know if you've noticed, but it's Father Christmas because I haven't had. Well, daft little tell that story, but my granddaughter's 5 now, but 2 years ago. We were out for dinner with all of them, just with kids and the grandkids, just before Christmas, and I had been on holiday in Arran, and there was a little kid about 2, 3 maybe, and he was kicking a ball about in this pub beer garden, and the ball came to me, and I just rolled it back to this little kid, and the little kid turned around and said to his mum, "Look, Mum, Santa Claus plays football too." And the woman was trying to be apologetic about it. I just thought it was hilarious, So I was sitting at this thing just before Christmas, and Olivia, the granddaughter's drawing and doing her own little thing, and I tried to tell her this story. She'd be about 3 at the time, and she went, "What did you think?" I said, "What did you think about that?" She went, "That's because you are Santa, Grandpa." I went back to drawing, So,
nice.
So someone said, I do all sorts of different things, So, and sometimes I'll just pick something random to see if people mention, "Why have you sent a picture of a dragon?" What's
Just
the daisies about? Stop sign. That's that.
Well, Brian, tell us what life is like for you at the moment. You're up at the moment because Celtic are about to be playing. We're about to be playing Kilmarnock tomorrow at the time we're recording this. So tell us what life's looking like for Brian McClair.
Life's very good. I've got plenty of things. I'm not in any full-time employment in the sense of I've got a contract to do anything, but you find that there's lots of things to do when you're not that. Yeah, there's now 4 grandkids, grandwins. So it's to try to get to see them as often as I can. The part of I look at myself as the kind of naughty grandparent, that,
lets them away with stuff.
Well, yeah, and there's, like I did with my own kids, was that I used to was part of my pleasure. We used to get a rise out of them, and tell them that things. They just even said recently that because he used to ask me where I was going, and I would say I'm going to see a man about a dog, and they were telling me that they actually thought that
they were getting a dog.
Oh, they were getting a dog. One of the greatest disappointments, because I never came home with a dog. So the grandkids are as much there for my entertainment as for their entertainment. But sometimes I'm wondering now, particularly with the 5-year-old who's actually got the upper hand, because she says some things that you're going, I think she's actually teasing me.
Yeah, sharper than she lets on. Yeah,
and you're still, as mentioned, coming up to the games. We were chatting before this.
I fell in love with football because of Celtic, because of Lisbon Lions. Primary school, 5 years of age. Someone. Well, first of all, and one of the reasons why I know it so early, because you got taken into the hall in the primary school, and there was no seats in it, so you sat on your hunkers, and all the other ones were behind you, so that it looked then like you were sitting on seats, so everybody could see the stage. And on the stage was I'd never seen a projector before, and a screen, and some guy, and they shut the. Used to have these real thick curtains at the side of the windows, shut them. What is going on here, and the guys said, get a bit of a preamble and put on the highlights of European Cup final in '67 at Lisbon Lions. And I don't remember it was black and white. I don't even remember if there was any sound. I think there might have been. And I fell in love with football, and I said to myself, I'm going to do that, and that it was a dream that for me was. We used to listen to the things that you were saying, overachieved. I spent all my time daydreaming different things about playing football and who you'd play for and all that. And as a 14-year-old walking to school, I used to refuse to get a lift to school so I could spend longer daydreaming about what I was going to do. So if you said to that 13-year-old, they'd listen to you, a couple of things you just mentioned, they'd be going, forget it. You're dreaming,
What was that like then? Obviously, you say you fell in love with football as a result.
Fell in love with the Lisbon Lions.
But then getting to meet the Lions and stuff like that through the years.
Well, I mean, if you're talking, we say that the two parts of it. When I got a phone call when I was at Motherwell, got a phone call from Jock Wallace, the manager at the time, saying basically they just told me. He said to me, "I've sold you." And my mother said, "What did the manager want?" I says, "He said he sold me." And my mother said, "Can you do that?" She thought I was some kind of slave, I says, "Well, apparently so." So, and when I went over, she had told me to get over to Fir Park. Went over and I said, "Get yourself into Celtic." Didn't even attempt to persuade me that my future lay at Motherwell. He just told me to get to Celtic Park. Big Billy was waiting for me. So my first experience of coming to Celtic Park as an individual in that sense was meeting Billy McNeil. Who was a manager, and Billy didn't take too long to suggest that it would be the best thing for me to sign for Celtic on that particular day. So that was that one. And the first day of pre-season, when you're really apprehensive about coming here, but excited and all this at the same time, pre-season, it was walking up the way I've just walked up there to the front and walking in like we've just done today, but the first person was actually somebody came out of the Pools office that used to be there, and to come over and welcome me and hope that it had been successful and that look forward to it and enjoy yourself. And that was Stevie Chalmers.
Wow.
And he didn't have to. He didn't have to. He was looking after his job at the time, but he felt that part of his role or commitment was to come and say, he might do that to everybody, but he did it to me, and that felt so special that
What an introduction to the.
Yeah, and I one of the things again from you meeting any kind of footballer, most people in football, is that they're very humble.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's something I've hopefully have portrayed myself.
Amazing. Well, we're going to get into everything about Celtic and your time playing for the club a little bit later. We're going to talk about Manchester United as well, but we're going to start the podcast with your early career. You spoke about how you got into football, but I'm interested in just the period before you joined Celtic, Motherwell, but prior to that, you go down to Aston Villa. Tell us a story about how that all came about and what you were hoping to achieve in those early years here.
Well, I mean, you're playing football all the time. I mean, there's a couple of things that you reflect that were beneficial to me. I was always encouraged by my parents that education was important.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that just to, encourage you to play football, but the encouragement both from my mother and father, with the parting words as I left the door to go and play for school or for the boys' clubs, was that you might break your leg today, you know. So it's very optimistic. You know? So they had that kind of idea. So I was, stuck at school. There was parts of education that I liked, maths in particular. But you start doing okay at football, and all of a sudden you're getting invited to go to train at places, you know, training. My father was very keen, had an understanding of it. He didn't want me to get tied down to one particular club. He wanted to have the opportunities for me to go and have a look at lots of different things. For example, he was a good football player, and Southampton wanted to take him down when he was 15, and my gran wouldn't let him go. His mum wouldn't let him go because her brother was a football player, and she thought he was a bit of a waster, you know. And my dad being the oldest of 4 boys, she thought that going away to play football he would end up potentially not. And that those times that football wasn't anything like it been in the coming years. And I think that was something that he'd always found a difficult thing to deal with. I'm very proud that I had achieved what I had done. So part of that kind of thing was, no, don't sign as a schoolboy, because Hamilton were really keen to sign me. I would go over there and train a few times. And then I started getting invited to places in England, West Brom, Villa, Arsenal, Bolton. There's some of the ones that I can recall, Coventry, I think. And it was nice to go and, I mean, what was one of the nice things about that, because when I played football, which a lot part of how my formative, maybe even professional style was playing on red ash. Now, red ash pitches, particularly, and you still played in the winter when they were rock hard and dangerous, was that there was only 2 people that slid tackle on these types of pitches. There was the lunatics and somebody that was really, really brave. Yeah. Everybody else just kind of danced on the surface. So my kind of playing style was always stay on your feet. So to go down to these places and they had beautiful grass pitches was something of, and nets, right?
Definitely chase a ball.
Yeah, nets. Well, the nets. And there was no carryouts in the nets. But it was to go to these places, and there was great experiences going along to these things. And I had got well looked after. I've been invited down to Villa several times, well looked after. And it's like any kind of football club, they'll try and accommodate whatever your requests are. And my request was to continue with education. Could I do an A level in maths, for example? Because I knew that they would, despite the fact you're going to be working full time in football, that you would have time to still study to do. And I got promised that. The unfortunate thing was that the guy who had promised that left the day before I arrived in Birmingham, you know. So, and for me, that you go in, it says 16. One of the right away 16 first 16, day. Yeah. You're leaving school. You're basically come from still being treated a wee bit like a child, really, which you are still at 16. To go into this adult world, and there was no kind of thing. Oh, you're only 16. It was that this is you in here now, and it was quite an experience being involved with these players. and how they went about what they were doing. What I realised right away was that football is about opinions, and the main opinion is the guy or the person who's managing your particular team. And clearly I wasn't one of the favourites. It was the youth development officer that was more interested in the guy had left the day before. So lesson learned right away that it's up to him, and I really enjoyed it because there was loads of great experiences. Villa won the league that year, and I always say that because I cleaned Dennis Mortimer's boots, who was a captain, and they were the shiniest boots, and that was my influence on the kind of thing that the glare on the boots used to put the opponents off. But one of the things I learned there as well is that no matter what you were given, you were some terrible jobs, cleaning toilets and all sorts of things, cleaning dressing rooms, that you should try and do whatever you were given to the best of your abilities, and it's something that when I was coaching, I was looking for why we're doing these things. I think it's in a way you're testing the individual to see, well, if they're going to do their best at cleaning the toilet, maybe they'll do their best when they're asking you and asked to play in a football match.
Was that a work ethic that you went there with, or
I think it's something that it's instilled in you by your parents and your surroundings. From coming from, my dad was up at I don't know if he should be supposed to go up at this time, but he used to get up really early because I think he went in early to read the papers, so and have a smoke, and have a cup of coffee and all that kind of thing. But however, he grafted, he did early days. He was doing shifts, like night shift, back shift, day shift, all that sort of thing. So, and it ended up within, certainly, I'm the oldest, I was born in 63, but within 4 years I had 4 kids. Yeah. So he's out all the time, And later on, my mother actually went back to college to get her qualifications, and I went on to teacher training college and became a primary school teacher. So she had and obviously bringing, there was 5 of us by that time.
It's incredible how often successful football players, I find, how often their background is a working class background with a strong work ethic that's instilled in them at a young age, and it's that kind of mindset that
there's also the message from everyone else, that all your relatives, wherever you went, you go, you would go to visit people, or people would come and visit you, and there was 2 things certainly that were those things you mentioned there, and it instills your character and your beliefs for life. I think that whatever you do, try and do the very best you can. Because the people would be expectant of it. For me, my dream was being a professional football player, which was kind of occasionally played down in the sense that there was growing up in the west of Scotland, and growing up particularly from a background that in the not too distant past, people came over from Ireland, and educated people who couldn't get educated or those types of jobs here and had to graft, had to work on the roads, had to work in the railways, had to go down the mines, had to work in the steelworks, and that's where all that came from. But then you get in a situation where your godmother and your godfather saying to you, have you ever thought about the priesthood? It's a vocation, and that because I kind of reflected place or glory would be if you had a child that went to university, if you had a child that became a doctor, if you had a child that became a nurse, if you had a child that became any of those particular things. But right at the very top echelon was being a priest. Well, I wanted to be a football player, and he used to tell me that you'll just get chosen, I'm only a wee boy, you're just going to get chosen, and I'm thinking, I don't want to get chosen, And I used to assume they'd say the same thing to my cousin, who was about the same age as me, and I used to pray that he would get chosen because I wanted to be a football player,
It worked. Well, to an extent.
Well, I'm sure I wouldn't necessarily be lighting candles for that sort of situation. But,
there's no contract to work now, so priesthood might come calling again. You never know.
Well, yeah, there of course there is. Yeah.
So that's Aston Villa, you're there for, as you said, 16, down there for a year. They win the league. That following year, they go on and win the European Cup, for people that will remember that. But in 1981, you moved to Motherwell. And
Yeah, well, I mean,
Hayes,
again, you find that about the way football is. It's a roller coaster. You're on that high, the early your teens, where you get invited to all these different places. Celtic were interested in, but they didn't really. They were interested, but they didn't really say we want to sign you. They turn around and say it. At the time I was going to Villa, we'll sign you. There was almost as if there was just a complacency at times. There was other players. I mean, not saying that I was the best player. I never was the best player, but that was the situation at the time, and I chose to go to Villa because they romanced me, I suppose. And at that period of time, the coach doesn't fancy what you're doing, how's things. I'm not playing so much. Training, everyone's great. Playing against the first team, practice matches, great, good place to be. They're winning, watching the games. They're winning the games. Get to go a couple of away games. I got to go to Middlesbrough. At one in LA, and you're thinking there was only one sub there. You're hoping that the guy, when somebody falls ill, because it's so far away from Birmingham, that there's nobody going to be able to get there in time. You're going to be sub, And the next game I got to go to was at Old Trafford against Manchester United, in an evening game, 3-8 game. So I'm sitting there thinking the same thing during the day. Hope somebody falls ill, and I got come on the bench, and you're thinking at those times you got onto that pitch for a minute. That's you've achieved something. Even if it's fortuitous, which a lot of the time, if you look at if you ask players how did they get a chance to get to play in the first team, there's nearly always the same reasons. Somebody's out of favour with the manager, somebody's ill, somebody's suspended, somebody's out of form, somebody's injured. So if you ask that question of any other guest, a lot of times it happens, or there's a need for something, and then when you get that chance, it's up to you to solidify and take that and see what you can do with it. But then I was told that I could go back to Scotland because I don't know. I'd applied for uni, and I don't know how they found out that I'd applied for uni. And I got accepted for both Glasgow and Strathclyde at the time. So I decided when they said I could go that I would go to uni and study maths and physics. And I got persuaded to do chemistry. I didn't know how to do chemistry, so I ended up doing 3 subjects I shouldn't have done in the first year. But David Hay at Motherwell, they were always interested in signing me, and David had said that if you ever come back, pop by. And I went to Brimfield to see a game in the Lanarkshire Cup pre-season, and I went over, and David was just coming to training tomorrow. So I was on a kind of downer in the sense of that I was decided I was going to university, see what happened there. I still had dreams of having patches on my jacket and teaching maths, as an alternative if it wasn't going to work out. So a year in a bit of a downer in the downslope of the roller coaster, and Davey invites you into Motherwell the next day, and I trained one day. Alan McLeod was the manager, and he wanted to sign me straight after training and play me in the first team the next day.
Wow.
So I'm going way back up the roller coaster again, So, and at that time, funnily enough, there was a friend who was scouting for Celtic, and he told Celtic I was back, and they didn't really do anything about it, so I signed for Motherwell.
And you had to then score some goals against Celtic.
Well, I've got to be very grateful to Pat Bonar. You've got to look at little instances that happen in life, and Pat, wonderful goalkeeper, both for Celtic and Era, and he didn't drop the ball often, and he dropped it for me, So I can't blame the sun because it was a really dark, dismal day. And the thing about that particular game was that we'd played Celtic at home, and they'd beat us 7-0 in the first game at Parkhead. And I just remember Charlie he seemed to be having a great time, and he was laughing and joking to himself mainly, and smiling, chatting to you and all that. I thought this, and then they scored early, and I thought, here we go again. This is going to be another trouncing, and then the penalty, and then as I said, forwards and goal scorers, I've always been somebody that like to score goals or optimistic, so that something's going to happen, and that's why you're in the situation that you're in, Roy, again, the bear could have possibly been a wee bit deeper, but he had confidence that Pat was going to collect the ball, drops it, and then
That's you, yeah.
What was it like, scoring against Celtic?
Oh, well, I mean, I had a great month because just before that I'd scored in the record books a hat-trick against Rangers.
Yeah.
I'd ended up, Jock Wallace thought, I'd never played as a striker, and Jock Wallace thought that I could be a striker. I still didn't like all through my career playing with my back to goals. I like to go see what was in front of me, but I love scoring goals.
Yeah.
And I had a great month scoring for, I think I scored a winner at Capello in a 1-0 victory. And it was, as I said, it was good, and it was great to have all that attention. But I even then, I'd never considered that there was ever anything else in being at Motherwell. I thought any other thing. Yeah.
So this is the second season you've got. So you join Motherwell, you win the first division.
Well, again, you did about from going and learning about opinions. Ali McLeod wants to play you. I said I was waiting for my mate who was scouting at Celtic. They weren't, as I say, that keen. Signed for Motherwell, played, and only a few days later, Ali McLeod gets sacked. Right? So you're going from that, and Davy Hay gets a job. I don't think it's alright. Davy seems to like me. Straight out of the team, and they go on a winning run and ended up not undefeated for 20 league games or something like that. I played enough games. And I played enough games to qualify to get a medal and to win you're for part of the thing, a huge part of the thing for me about playing football, professional football, was to win things. That was sort of maybe a mark of what you'd done, playing and winning championships, cups, all those things, cup finals, all those semi-finals. But winning things was always something I wanted to do. So you win, so I've got something, right? I win some. 18, I think, and I've now got one thing, so I felt elated about that. But as I say, I'm still. And then again, you're thinking, I'm playing. I played the last number of games, scored a few goals. I think things are going good. I'm in the end of the season when we get invited to one of the directors to get our medals and have a great social event one Sunday afternoon, and then the next week Davy Hay leaves to go to America. So I'm back again thinking. You're again back to the beginning. And Jock Wallace and Frank Connor become the management team.
What was Frank Connor?
Frank, because it was I had the shouting in stereo.
Yeah,
Jock would be shouting in one ear and Frank would be shouting at the other.
Frank Connor had a bit of a reputation.
As Frank, I mean,
ruthless.
Frank. Well, it's only in the sense. It's only in a way like this is that. At 17, you two remember 17 with a bit more clarity, but I know at 17, I know at 17, I knew Evan.
Yeah.
And these two, they've played for Celtic, they've coached at Celtic, and he's won stuff with the with teams he's been at and all that. And what do these Leicester and all this, what do they know? I know everything, so there was that kind of thing, and they recognised something that they thought there was something there in me, so that was their way of doing it. It wasn't the sort of particular thing that I had necessarily responded to. So that they were just trying to do the way they thought. That's the way they thought it was, And they came from, all of those people came from backgrounds of being in the armed forces, PT instructors, and their job was to get the players fit. The personnel fit so that they could survive conflict, then bringing these ideas into football, and that's what they did. They shouted. They didn't do it all the time, but to me, I know what it was like. That's why I can tell 17, 18-year-olds I know exactly the same, because I wouldn't listen, or I wouldn't listen that often. So I had them for a year, and as I say, I wasn't playing, and then they weren't scoring, and the first team weren't scoring, and they had this idea that I could be a forward, and I thought, right, I'm just playing I might as well have a go. I'm just playing the reserves at the moment, so things are kind of, I'm treading water really, and I'm not really getting anywhere with it. I think I'm playing all right, and if I'm not getting, and they what they saw was what they got. You know, as I say, the first game I played, and the first time I scored. So you're back up there again.
Yeah. How are you balancing playing for Motherwell, and then we're going to start moving on to how you signed for Celtic, balancing that and also your university
Yeah,
studies?
Part of you'd say, well, I was at uni as a full-time student, so I was at uni every day, and I trained, and it was training, not coaching. Training on a Tuesday and a Thursday evening. There was me and another lad who had a good job, so it wasn't worth his while giving up with his job and with the money he was getting part-time. It was a lot more than the full-time players were getting. So it was training. It was wee Frank, you know, down the park and all, and it was just he shouting at you to do, and it was very little ball. There's very little ball. Well, not that there's a lot you can do with two people, you know, but a lot of the stuff we were doing with the ball was running with the ball, you know. Yeah. So that was the difference between just running and you'd have just Frank shouting at you for 2 nights. And then, I mean, one of the games that I played, I don't know particularly, but it might have been one of those games, Rangers or Celtic. I sat an exam in the morning. So I got up in the morning, drove into Glasgow, sat the exam, sitting there thinking, can I leave before the exam finishes and all that? You know, I'm thinking, should I not go?
What's more nerve-wracking, the exam or the...
you couldn't be late, you know, because Jock Wallace and Frank and things like that, you had to be there the very latest, whatever time they told you to be in, you know.
Yeah.
So you'd be 1:45, you had to be there, and I'm still sitting there at 12:30 thinking, well, can I make it from here to
Did you pass?
Polo car, you know, because I didn't have the most reliable car. I passed,
Good.
Passed and scored.
That's
it was a decent. It was a decent day with regards to with an anecdotal sense.
So moving on now to arriving at Celtic, May 1983. We spoke there. You'd scored 2 goals in a win against Celtic. You scored the hat-trick against Rangers as well. Do you think that impacted at all you then signing for Celtic? How did it all come around, Brian?
Just I said that was just that. I got I said for me, I think enjoyed it. I was considering anyway to maybe going full time in Motherwell and having a go at it, seeing how things would transpire. I'd been in Mexico with Scotland under 19s in the World Cup, and I just got back from that when I got that phone call to say from Joe Walsh to say that he'd sold me. When Billy had said, look, I'll give you a 4-year contract, my thinking was, it still is, that I can go back to university, that my body would deteriorate quicker than my mind, which I'm not exactly sure if that's the case, but certainly with regards to being a professional football player, that would have been something. Well, I felt this is a real chance that I'm going to have a go at this, and the best way to do that is to commit yourself full time to doing that. And it's never been work. I mean, we're talking about putting effort in and work ethic, but it's never been work. I mean, I was really excited through the rest of the summer about meeting these people that I adored as a football fan, and played against them and enjoyed the experience, even though we come out with quite a few hammerings, you know.
See, you know, we're going to your time at Celtic and goals that you've scored and stuff like that, just something that I've been wondering about. You know, you were talking earlier about remaining humble and so on. What was it like for you? Obviously, you would have had attention playing for Motherwell, you know, and scoring goals. Presumably coming to Celtic's a much higher level then of being in the spotlight and the limelight. How did you deal with that sort of being?
No, I mean the attentions. I mean, there was a picture was in the paper, if that's what you mean, you know. And you look back and similar things, and you go, "How did I get that picture taken?" You know, I look like a right tosser. You know? See, there is a bit of that, and then you go to Celtic, but I didn't really notice. There wasn't the sort of situations to be attended to, if that's what you're looking. There was a Celtic View.
Yeah.
There was the radio, and there was 2 highlights programmes, one in the evening, one on the Sunday. So there wasn't a great requirement to be involved in anything else other than training. There's not all the scenarios that players are expected to do. You two have been beneficiaries of the progress in that sense. Newspapers, but one of I learned again from the best way to learn things is by doing them. So by me doing a few interviews, but you get to trust a few people, and you tell them stories. And some days you're talking about things you don't recognise what you're saying and how that's going to affect the wide world out there, or the Celtic world it was at the time. But you learn when the headline comes out, and the journalists are always whatever clever is that. Well, I didn't write the headline. That's the editors. Well, you've worked in media. I've worked in some other person, So there's this nameless person who's plucked out. So you learn from that sort of thing. So you come in and sometimes apologise to your teammates for saying things that had been taken in a particular context. So I kind of started to stay away from those. Do whatever was necessary without, and then you start just saying nothing really, because you just don't want the hassle of being. And you understand that there is a role and a necessity, because people have got their own jobs and to fulfil their contractual obligations. But I found that a part of that I never enjoyed. But you look back. I mean, I did an interview, and somebody had asked me, because at the time Italian football was just becoming. I'm not sure if it was. Don't think it was quite on the television, but there was a few people had gone to Italy and the talk was that Italy was of course always been a place that the people went to. I mean, Dennis Law went there in the 60s. John Charles, great Welsh player, went even earlier than that, in the 50s or 60s. So there were some players that had been there. And there was the question was just asked to me, well, do you fancy going to Italy or something like that? But I just said, well, who wouldn't? As a naive little boy that I was. And the headline was I was going to Italy. That was the thing. There was no it would be. It's just the headline. So and it allows. So we're playing. So that's on the Saturday, I think, around about a Friday night. That headline, you're going, he went for the manager, David, to say, like, what are you doing or whatever else it is. But David didn't. Very different from Jock and Frank. Although you did one of those little things, you think, oh great, I've gone to Celtic, I've got away from those two. First day of pre-season after Billy had left, Davy Hay and Frank, that's right. And I'm thinking, what have I done? And then so the thing about that is, so we're playing Dumbarton, Boghead, well named, and I'm having a terrible game. I'm playing, couldn't trap a bag of cement in the middle of the village pond in a rainstorm, right? I'm having one of those games, and the ball rolls behind the goals, and me always, as you can see in many videos, was keen to get for the game to continue as fast as possible.
I wanted to ask you this, but
anyway, I go behind the goals, and it's very close to the terrace, and there's a wall, people standing, and I go to pick up the ball, and this Celtic punter has got on me in front of me, just looks at me and goes, "Why don't you to Italy now?" And I was like, there's nothing I could say,
The power of the headline, isn't it?
It was like, yeah, you're right, I'm having a poor game.
See, since you just brought it up, Brian, I did want to ask you at one point, because there was a video that we've done the rounds in social media. I don't know if did you see it? Of you in every single goal, and you just run in no matter what, pick the ball up under your arm and storm off.
Because
there's thinking behind that.
There was, because it's brilliant. And it's VAR's ruined this situation, right?
Yeah, of course.
Not only in football, not anything that's that kind of spontaneous thing. For me, there's two most important protagonists in football are the players, the supporters, and the relationship between them, right? Mm-hmm. And that relationship is celebrated when you score a goal. The fans celebrate you score and get your opportunity to score, to celebrate with them, right? That's for me is the critical part, and it's been stolen from them. And even when it's given, as it's it's dumbed down. It's
Yeah.
like, it's almost a bit a whimper, right? And I think it's a real shame, because for me, the best thing ever of anything is scoring a goal, right? Anything, no matter what you think in your head, better than anything, right? Scoring a goal. However, the bit between scoring the goal and this idea of celebration, I was kind of a wee bit embarrassed about this. I'd scored the goal, yes, and right, let's go on with the game. Like, try and score another goal, right? For me, and that's why I didn't have a Lee Sharp type celebration where you're at the corner flag,
You dance.
and do dance and do like Elvis impersonation. Like, I just thought that was just embarrassing, really. It's like I'm on this football pitch doing what all these people out here would love to do, and be terrible at it for a few minutes, right? And I didn't really thinking, well, I'm going to whatever. It's just celebrate. So I just thought, I'll celebrate, yes, and get on with the game. That was my idea about it. So
See, it must be
no time wasting
Oh,
for
alright.
me. And I ended up nearly having a fight in the Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday, where I'm going to get the ball, and Mark Bright, I think it was, he's trying to wrestle the ball off me, and I'm like, what are you doing? I'm nearly a fight about possession of the ball, because no, it's my ball, shoot, no, it's my ball. Like adults are in the goals,
You see this video, Matt, if you've not seen it.
No,
It's
that's
the guy
another-
Brian's gun on Twitter. Have you,
Oh,
I
I've
think you've
seen
seen it.
I've
You've seen it, yeah.
and
Your little kind of voiceover.
so you
as
never
well.
ever can say that I was wasting time, because
That must be soul destroying.
and it didn't matter what the
if you-
score was either. It didn't matter whether I wasn't losing or drawing. I was just like, well, I'll go and get the ball,
Yeah.
It must be soul destroying if you're.
And
the
it wasn't just
opposition,
when I scored.
It's been anyone's,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, if I was closest to it, I'm in the net. Yeah.
You must, as an opposition player, you must be like, because he's just scored.
I know.
And he's
Yeah,
gonna
that's why-
Start again. Like, they're no.
I think
relenting
that's
here.
why
I
Matt
know.
Wright was upset, because I was like,
You needed a
he
couple
thought I
of
was
seconds
taking the
to
piss, but he just said, you should watch all the other goals that I've scored. No, you. Okay. He was some kind of stupid thing I said, but.
Getting back to Celtic, so you've signed for the club. You mentioned Billy McNeil signed you, but then he's not there for long. Davy Hayes and a man you know well from your time at Motherwell.
Again, getting back to the roller coaster, I'm right up there. Billy
crazy.
McNeil signed me, fantastic full-year
Aye.
contract, full-time football, brilliant. Can't wait. Go in pre-season, think we're doing really well. Met all these players, thinking, yeah, I feel comfortable in here. I think I can play with these people, and I think I had a good pre-season. You come back, first game is Hibs away, and they would come in at those times, and the Friday they would just pin the squad up in the pin board. So you go in, you're buzzing, first game of the season, go up, 2 sheets, first team reserves. So you go up and you're looking, and I'm looking going, it's a mistake here, my name doesn't appear to be on this. And I'm like, I mustn't look, I'm going, I'm look, what? What's happening here, right? Nothing, no like commitment. I mean, I was watching doing a thing to do some CPD for my coaching badges, and I was watching a lad who's doing a presentation. He was talking about Sven Goran Eriksson used to take the players in on a Friday and speak to them all for half an hour and tell them why they weren't playing. And when they were finished, they felt as if they were definitely playing the next game.
Yeah.
But Davey said nothing. Nothing. Frank said nothing. There was no. I'm like bewildered, like why am I playing and you played Hibs at home, and it was always an hour before. It was a 2:00 kick-off, so I'm playing for the reserves at an empty Celtic Park, thinking what's happening here, so it's just anyway. We won 2-0, scored both goals, but and part of the thing about that is you've obviously then you've got Bobby Lennox, who's the reserve team coach, so you've got
amazing.
And I learned a great thing from Bobby Lennox about humour and how to listen and not jump in when people are saying things. Because we're down at Seamill, and he says he's there as well, and he says, and we're all going for a walk, and all the players clearly know what's going to go on, and he goes, I knew that I like music, so they all like music. You like your music? I'm like, yeah, I like music. Well, not the music that they would particularly like, whatever I like. He's going, yeah. And I had, my oldest child, she's called Siobhan, And so I bet you I can sing a song for any name you can think of. I think, well, no way it's going to be Siobhan, and I don't know this thing with Siobhan. I know why she's called Siobhan because of Bananarama, but it's not in a song. I goes, right, Siobhan. He goes like that. That's a quite a tricky one. And these are all sniggering. I don't know what they're sniggering at, but they're all sniggering. And he goes, happy birthday. Well, I felt a bit very small. And these are all pissing themselves laughing, and I'm like, right, okay. Yeah, done.
That's a legend
done
of the club, isn't it?
Completely done by a Lisbon Lion. I thought, well, I'd have dreamed if somebody told me that would happen to me, I would have taken that one.
Yeah,
so
definitely. And then you
so I
start
said
to,
it, and after that, I was saying it, I wouldn't answer them because I'm not sure they've been serious. Or not,
I mean, I want to kind of get into how you then start to impact the first team, because from what my research was saying, Brian, and please jump in if this is wrong, it seemed like it was a moment later on the season towards the end of September against Dundee where you scored 4 goals, which seemed to be the turning point for you in the first team.
Well, again, I go from playing the reserve game in that first game. Celtic won at Easter Road, and then I'm training with the first team again on the Monday, and nothing said, and I'm involved after that. So I'm on the bench, and I wasn't. My mother wouldn't let me go to Celtic Park because she thought it was too dangerous on the train. So my first Old Firm game of attending the first Old Firm game, I come on a sub, and I lay on the winning goal, but I'm offside. So VAR would have ruled it. I was offside. I know I'm offside, right? I don't foul the linesman's not the lines person at the time. Assistant referee now I had no idea because I'm offside, right? But it's one of those tight kind of things, and I knocked the ball across, and the Bear scores what turns out to be the winning goal. So that's my first experience of being, and I'm wonderful. I can't get any better than this. Celtic Park beating Rangers, and then I get a chance to play. I'm playing at Dundee and I score 4 goals, and then I got dropped the next game.
Did you?
Played in Europe on the Wednesday, and I'm not playing. So again, and there's not. To say Davy Hayes, it's his style of management. He wouldn't proffer, he wouldn't offer, he wouldn't volunteer. If you went to see him, you could have a conversation with him, but he wouldn't. He just decided that was it, and you go on with it. And if you had a problem with you, and you have to voice it yourself. There was no. And having said that, they won the game, so he was right in the sense of they got the result. And then another great moment not long after that is playing against Sporting Lisbon here, and I start this time. It's my first start, 5-0. We played. I mean, I was on the bench over there. We lost 2-0, but it was 2-0 going on 7. No question. So it was a hiding. It's a proper 2-0 hiding. So you're thinking, well, these are a good outfit, But as in any game, particularly in European games, you get an early goal, you feel really, really confident that things are going to go well. It was a night that suited the Scottish player because it was wet.
The goal you scored in that game is an absolute beauty, to be fair.
Well, all the goals were great. There's not such thing as a. There's no such thing. There's a Villa video talking about you're saying about it's at Hillsborough as well, where they take the ball out and it's just showing what the players are doing with this ball. It's ridiculous. It's even ridiculous, absolutely mental goal. And then it ended all these ricochets and drops, and it drops to me standing right by the goal line, and it's just only a matter of you just roll it over the line, So I mean, people ask you what's your favourite goal or favourite this. They're all favourites, like your children. You shouldn't be picking one over the other. And as I say, all goals are wonderful. People's memories of them for different reasons are whatever they are. But to score, it was brilliant. And again, another particular kind of iconic kit as well.
I was going to say,
I always liked to kit. I liked to draw kit when I was a kid and all that, and do different things. And my favourite kit as a kid was the green and black vertical stripes, which
70s kind of
early 70s, 72, 73, something like that. black shorts, black socks.
Wonderful image of Bobby Murdoch wearing that kit. This obviously get re-released or
there has been a kind of it,
yeah.
but nobody seems to be doing one like that.
One
None
like
of these
that.
people
I brought it out
do.
again like 2006, 7.
All these people do.
Yeah.
It's got to be that one. Not as tight as the ones that were.
Yeah,
not as tight as those ones in the Lisbon Lions. Not Lisbon Lions. That Sporting Lisbon game.
But
And then you're again, things seems to be going quite well. But
yeah.
again, all the way through that period of time, Davy Hay, for me, I never felt comfortable whether that was part of his plan. Never asked him. But he always seemed to be signing strikers. Everybody's signing a striker,
that,
you know,
yeah.
and I'm not playing. I'm next minute, I'm not. And the team know that, irrespective of what's happening. So I don't know whether it was the gauntlet for me or not, which I did rise to, I think. I did take it on as a challenge that, well, I'm not going to be letting whatever it is.
Yeah, I've got like a list of some of the.
So.
Obviously, when you joined, Frank McGarvey's there, signed Jim Milrose. I think the second season, Alan McInally signed. Somebody else signed as well.
John Coon and Alan McInally, Jim Melrose.
Mark McGee signs,
and
constantly.
There just always seemed to be a.
But you kept being the
Frank.
top goal scorer first season.
Yeah, but
it
was part of that. Whether that was, as I say, that was a design by David, I don't know. I just wanted to be the top goal scorer, which kind of, and I wanted to win things, but it was just that I had that drive. So he instilled that by not playing me all the time. I didn't get particularly upset about it, and apart from the fact that I wasn't playing, then I asked for a transfer, which was one of the very few times actually he told me to come into his office. And the part of the thing is that I didn't, but you could at the time. I signed when Billy offered me a contract. He told me what my basic wage was, and he gave me a sheet of paper with the bonuses. But when Davy Hay took and started doing things, he kept giving me a rise. He could do that. He kept giving me more money, you know. So giving me, and it was almost double by the time it got to a particular period. Well, this time I'd said I'd spat my dummy out, and he brought me into the office, and that was well, why do you think I'm giving you this extra? If you're not doing well, if you might not be playing for whatever reason, and I got fined for asking. I didn't really have an answer to. You can forget it. That's maybe just threw it in the bin, you know. But because you had to send it to, I don't know, by a recorded delivery.
Yeah.
So you just went like, I see this that's going in the bin, and that was the only time he ever got me in to say what the situation was.
Yeah.
But I wanted to become. I did, and top goal scorer was important. And the other thing, I given an opportunity to score the 1000th league goal for Celtic, and I don't think I'm not sure if I was started that game or not. I might have been on the bench for that game, and I was so determined that I was going to score that goal.
Yeah,
just to be there. And again, for me, it was another part of, you look at the players that had scored millennial goals for Celtic, and I thought to be on that list would have been.
That's not bad at all.
So that was probably more, if you talk about, to say that, you know, there's something that's always going to be there. It's never going to change, you know. So,
well, Matt, Brian, I do want to look at a couple of real significant moments, particularly 85 Cup final, and then the next season where we all know the story with Love Street. I want to get some more into that, but before we do that, Matt, that team that Brian was in for those 4 years, it's full of characters, isn't it? That we see coming in here all the time. Some unbelievable players that are historic in Celtic's history, but also some amazing characters, which I'm kind of interested to ask Brian about. But there's so many people, aren't there?
Absolutely, and it's an era in the club's history that is just always fascinating, and it is, I think, because of the personalities that were playing for Celtic throughout that period. Even big names. You're even talking about Davy Hay there, as manager, as a huge name and a big presence in the story of the club. But sort of looking at it, being part of that group, what was it like, playing alongside some of those names which Ryan's already mentioned, but like guys like, Aitken and McGrain, players like that.
Tommy Burns coming through.
Tommy Burns, you've got Peter Grant as well.
Yeah, young Peter Grant,
no, it was an honour, really. You going in there in that dressing room, and I was in very early, and I was saying to Ryan earlier, where the dressing room was, when you came through the door, there was actually a wall in front of you, like a third kind of width of the room. So I was told that was my spot was just behind that wall in the corner. So I was sitting there excited, waiting for who's coming, the next person that's coming in and what they'll be like, and they all come in and they were looking for you, like, pleased to meet you, and introduce. I'm like, I know you are, thanks very much, and every one of them, they'd all say, and then he was just sitting there and listening to them doing what they were doing, to each other, laughing and joking. And I just thought, this is great. The dressing room that had been in at Motherwell was brilliant as well. There were some great characters in that. Alfie Cohen, Brian McClair in particular, and that was all kind of like this. But I was only in there. I wasn't in there every day, because I was part time. But this is me here. I'm going to be in here hopefully every day, and it was wonderful. Just soaking it all up.
Yeah.
Couldn't wait to get out, and then right away there's also part of a potential initiation, or we'll make sure that you're keeping your feet in the ground, and that Neil Mockin was the kit man, and Neil, I'm convinced, waits for everybody to be in the dressing room, and he set it up, everyone's set up when he comes in, this is what's going to happen. He comes in being a Celtic legend, and he walks round and he goes, how you doing, son? And I'm like, whatever his job is, and Celtic was sponsored by Adidas at the time, and I always loved my boots, knew it were the good boots and things, and he goes, what boots would you like, son? And I went, can I have World Cup? Well, he starts sneering and laughing and huffing and puffing and going, whoa, in front of them all, and he's like, what about this wee boy? World Cups? What are you wearing, Danny? Adidas 2000. What are you wearing? And I was like, fell out of that small, like that. And then I was like, this is, what am I doing? I just, again, naivety, they're all killing themselves, Anyway, I just thought, I'll just have whatever you give me, whatever you've got. Just get me anything you've got,
It's amazing.
Anyway, he came back about 15 and goes, here you go, son. And he gave me
World
Cups. He gave me them. So I was like, thanks very much.
Brilliant. He's also, Neil Mockin's obviously got a rich history of dealing with Celtic players' boots, especially at key moments, because it's Neil Mockin who, the night before we won the European Cup, again, we just signed that might be the same deal with Adidas for the boots.
Yeah,
he had to go around the players who didn't wear Adidas boots, so there was a few, including Billy McNeil, who was wearing Puma. He had to go round and basically use boot polish to cover the white Puma swoosh and paint 3 stripes onto the side of the boot.
If you look at the that iconic picture of them walking out, particularly when it's a Lars, you can see quite clearly that they're
makeshift Adidas boots. It's incredible.
What were some of the characters like in that changing room? Because we mentioned there's some massive names in this club's history, some unbelievable players that I think not just go down in history in Celtic Football Club but in European football as well. But in terms of them as characters, Brian, who were the ones that were kind of the heart of the dressing room? Any kind of stories that come to mind?
Yeah, I mean the funniest, and the people ask me who was the people have you come across that were funny, and the 2 of them, and one of whom had red hair, and Tommy Burns. Red hair. He was just hilarious. The things he would say, the stories he would tell, they were just all very funny and quick-witted, quick, because the dressing room, banter. It was fierce and intense and could be personal at times, but the reaction to a jibe or a comment, and Tommy was always, nobody ever, Roy would try it about Danny a wee bit, Frank would, in his inimitable fashion, but Tommy's always got a put down or something to say, always had a thing to say, and for me, one of the great memories is that I've again been a young player. I decided that I'm going to get involved in fashion and hairstyle time, and I went and I wanted to get a demi-wave, and I think the hairdresser was a non-Celtic supporter and decided that he would burn my hair. So I'm trying to get straight in my. If I had straighteners, I'd use straighteners,
Aye.
right? And I'm getting quite rightly, particularly with the younger players in the same kind of year as me, Paul and Willie McStay hammering me, for having got my hair permed. Anyway, you just got to take it and then see what happens. And the beauty of a bad haircut is that 3 weeks later you can get it cut into something else, However, I'll just let it grow out, right? But when unbeknown to me, because I'm knowing about chemicals and like that, it's turned a kind of funny, kind of orangey, blondie colour, which is predominant in the end of the season game at Love Street. But I just let it grow. But every morning when I was always in early again, sitting in that little bit corner of the dressing room, Tommy Burns would come round. And he'd come in and he'd just come round in front of you and he'd just go like that. Because it looked like a lion's mane, He didn't say, he never said anything to me for weeks. He just roared at me, because he thought he thought that was thoroughly entertaining, And there's he's not nothing you can say. He's not. He's just like, I know it does look like a mane, but I'll just leave it just now, So.
It was a really interesting time, Brian, in that period in the 1980s in Scottish football, because of course you had Sir Alex Ferguson's Aberdeen team, which won a couple of league titles and cups, went on to have success in Europe. We got our first trophy in the 1985 Scottish Cup, and then that leads us into the 1985-86 season, which for all those that remember, my dad tells me all the stories about that season all the time, is so memorable for the club, accumulating in that final game of the season at Love Street. But we'll leave that to one side just for a moment. Just talk to us about that season in general and kind of the differences in the squad which brought you to then winning the title at the end of that season.
Well, the first thing is that Hearts were the better team. They were the dominant team, you mentioned, and they were. So you're still having a strong Aberdeen team. You've got a strong Dundee United team. You've still got Rangers, and then Hearts have formed a really good squad who are playing really good football. And when you're winning, and you go on sometimes winning runs, you have a great belief that you're just, no matter who you're going to play, that and it happened for them as well, that they'd played quite a lot of games where they'd come from behind and ended up winning the game. So they had this belief that even if they're going behind, they're going to win the game, and they had a lot of really good players. So we're always in a catch-up position, but we got to a point where we needed to win every game. There was we were hanging in there, but it was going to be, there had to be one or two things go for us. I think we played Hearts, but we ended up, if we'd have beaten them, would have given us, but we think we drew. So I
think we beat Hearts that season.
The opportunity was there for them, So they're in the position where it's theirs to lose in a sense. But we were you're looking at a number of games you'd had to win or not lose, and we were on a non-losing streak. But for me, the game that made the real difference was winning at Pittodrie. And I'd been up there so many times, winning penalties in the League Cup. We'd been up there so many times, both with Motherwell and with Celtic, and never won. In fact, we got a few hidings, and we beat Aberdeen 1-0. And for me particularly, really felt that was the trickiest game. They're all going to be difficult in their own way, but to go there and win that game, I think would have been particularly unexpected. It was unexpected by Aberdeen, of course, but by Hearts as well. They must have been looking at it thinking, this is, they never do, which was correct. So we could only do what was necessary, was win the next game, and I think that gave us a great impetus, that game.
Mm-hmm. And there were some big derbies as well that season. You scored in the win it in New Year. We had a crazy was it 4 each at Ibrox as well, which
Yeah.
she scored in as well. But then it leads into that final game of the season, Matt, at Love Street, which I think everybody that has stories about that remember that.
I was speaking to one of my friends, an old chap called Hugh, just the other night. Hugh used to work in the stadium tours here at the club. So I've known Hugh for years, and I was speaking to him the other night, went round to his house to see him, and we were talking about great games that he had been at through his life supporting Celtic. Now, bear in mind, Hugh started following Celtic in the early 60s, so he's got vivid memories of us winning the European Cup and wonderful games throughout the 9 in a row run under Jock Stein. But one of the first things he was speaking about was 1986, the game at Love Street, and being there on the terraces with his then 16-year-old son, and just the anticipation going to the game, not anticipation but nervous energy, knowing what we had to do, had to beat St Mirren by at least 4.
Well, it wasn't quite. We had to. The difference had to be 3 goals.
Mm-hmm.
So we were very confident because we were playing really well, and we said we'd been unbeaten for a long time. Hearts favourites going to Dundee. What a lot of people don't realise, and I didn't realise until recently, because I was actually talking to the manager at the time. It was Archie Knox was the manager of Dundee then, that day, and Dundee had a chance of qualifying for Europe had all the results gone their way.
Okay.
So there wasn't dead rubber for them. So there's this idea that that Dundee are just finishing the season off. They weren't.
Yeah.
So there's that thing. There's the other thing is that you should never get loads of T-shirts printed before you've actually achieved something, right? So I'm still looking for one of them. And that
It'll be somewhere.
you go to the game at Love Street and you're really confident that you're going to win the game. Now, right away, is that sort of things were working positive in that their number one goalkeeper can't play. So Campbell Money is poorly, so he's not playing. Nothing wrong with Jim Stewart, and nothing Jim could have done about that particular performance in that day. But we were confident, really confident, and you go out and the vast majority of the stadium's green and white. With a number of people that I've met in the interim years, there was 70,000, 80,000 there, But
Everybody was there.
so anyway, that's what it is, right? And you play really good football. We played great.
Goals.
Yeah.
We played great and culminating one of the best goals that I've been involved in. Would have changed the goal scorer, but I couldn't do anything about that. And that was my fault because I've got an assist. Right, as I call it, I got an assist. Anyway, we're 4-0 up at half time, so we've done our bit. We've got that bit that we need to do. We've got the goals, and we've just got to hope that in half time 0-0 you're thinking, well, see what happens. You go out the second half, I score again 5, right? So we're definitely got the thing. We're still playing. And Jim Stewart's got the ball in his hands, and the Celtic fans all are up all around him, and he's looking around thinking, what's occurring here? And at the time, the only way you can find out if what's happening elsewhere in the world is to listen to Radio Clyde on your tranny, which is a transistor radio, right? That people had, right? And you'd be sitting, your ear to it, or you might have a wee headphone or whatever, your ear to it, and it's all, and kid scores, there's an eruption, great elation running, wow, kids, and then all of a sudden it's like, me one in particular going, well, which one? They've got a kid playing as well. Oh no, it's Walter kid scored, and then it comes through. I think Hugh Keevins was doing the commentary up there for Radio Clyde, and it's not. It's in his wonderful fashion. It's Albert the kid of Dundee scored the goal, and when we then it's proper. But you're nervous, and because it's like it's only 1-0. I mean, they only need a point, right? So that's the way it is. He's nervous, and they score again. But because there were so many people travelling from Edinburgh that day, their game kicked off 7 minutes after. our game.
Right.
So we finished the game. It's still 2-0. Yeah, we're in the dressing room. We're in the dressing room waiting for the game to finish.
So even though the pitch invasion is just a presumption that...
Yeah, well, that pitch invasion, so when people come in with no kit on and all that kind of thing, when the game it's not finished.
God, could you imagine?
No. Because we went back, I'm sure we went back out.
Yeah.
I think we come back out when the result was finished. So, I know. So there's loads of things that happen.
I've never realised that.
That's
Because their game's still playing. It was maybe even 9 minutes that after 3 they kicked off because there were so many Hearts fans trying to get into the ground. See, and if you look at the highlights of the game, it was packed, absolutely packed in Spark.
See, I'm just thinking this, even at 5-0, it must be so difficult to focus on the game you're playing when that's happening in the stands around you. People are tuned into the game.
Well, I mean, we were just trying to score more goals, particularly me, because I've scored 2. I want to keep scoring. This is great. Let's get a few more, but we didn't manage to do that. But let's say the first half an hour we were brilliant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so many great memories of that, and I imagine, Brian, when that full-time whistle goes at Dens Park and you know that you are league winners of everything that's happened in that season, what were the emotions like? What was the party like?
Yeah, there was somebody. There was no T-shirts, but there was some champagne was produced from somewhere. So we had a glass, and we went back out into the pitch. But by then, because the game had been so long, there wasn't so many people in the stadium, so it did dampen it a little bit. But to be out there and winning that, and I think it was because of the circumstances of the whole season and all event of things that occurred, and to win in dramatic fashions, isn't it? But it's part of Celtic way about never giving until it's unsurmountable.
Oh yeah, definitely. I think, Brian, Matt, that'll be a good place to leave this for part 1. We're going to take a little break, and later on in the week we're going to bring you part 2, where we're going to finish off the section with Celtic and then look at the rest of Brian's career with Manchester United, and we're going to get his 1 to 11 of players that he's shared a pitch with and training with as well, which is going to be really exciting. So do join us for that later on in the week. We're going to take a little break just now, and we're going to look forward to that very, very shortly.